Well, let's begin with that top story from Syria, where the country's foreign minister has demanded the dissolution of the US-led coalition, claiming the operation is nothing but a cover-up for Syria's destruction. Well, RT's Jacqueline Vouga joins me in the studio with more on this. Well, hi there then, Jackie. So what more did the foreign minister have to say?
Well, apart from just demanding the dissolution of the US-led coalition, the Syrian foreign minister also accused the alliance of destroying everything in his country except ISIL, the terrorists that they're meant there to be fighting, adding that he believes that Washington is using the coalition's actions to actually prolong the war in the country. Let's take a listen.
Thousands of Syrian citizens have become victims of US airstrikes in Raqqa and Deir ez-Zor provinces. Not only men, but also women and children. Besides that, the American coalition systematically destroys economic infrastructure. That's why we decisively demand the dissolution of the US-led coalition and for member states to withdraw from it, as it's obvious the US is using it as a cover-up for the destruction of Syria, a maximal prolonging of the war.
Now, those comments from the Syrian foreign minister were made during talks with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov. And of course, Moscow has also in the past questioned America's intentions and effectiveness in the region. Let's take a listen.
The activities of US-led forces raise many questions. In some cases, these forces have indirectly encouraged other terrorists to attack strategic positions rightfully regained by Damascus, or they have deliberately engaged in bloody provocations against our forces.
Well, Jackie, some strong allegations there, but is there any evidence to support them?
Well, there's been little indications that are sort of piling up at this point. On Wednesday, the Russian Defense Ministry actually claimed that 300 Islamic State terrorists in pickup trucks freely passed through a zone in Syria's Al-Tanf region, where the coalition has a base and has determined an explanation from the U.S. side. Given that in the past, any advancement on that base or any movement in that area has been met with very strong reaction from the U.S., but these militants seem to have passed through untouched. Additionally, in the end of September, the Russian Ministry of Defense released aerial images which they said showed U.S. Army equipment in outposts near Deir ez-Zor that had been held by ISIL just days before. And the problem is there was no indication, no signs that fighting had taken place in the area, indicating that the locations had possibly been taken without force. Plus, of course, no patrols were obviously being conducted, again indicating that the U.S. forces felt safe in that area. Theoretically, if they'd just taken those locations from Islamic State, there would be the fear of them coming back in an attempt to retake them. But no patrols being conducted, encouraging the speculation that the U.S. may have had some sort of understanding with the terrorists, that a simple handover may have taken place. And of course, we contacted Central Command asking for an explanation or at least some sort of comment on the images. They flat out denied the claims, adding, however, that they would not and could not comment on the locations of their coalition forces.
Well, let's have a look at some of the criticism then. I mean, Syria, are they alone in condemning the US-led coalition? What's the international reaction?
There has actually been a wide condemnation from humanitarian organizations as well. Right now, one of the coalition's main fights is to push ISIL out of Raqqa, which is, of course, at this point, the de facto capital of Islamic State. But both humanitarian organizations and the UN have raised alarm over the number of civilian casualties that are being reported in Raqqa as the coalition continues to heavily bomb the city, where it said up to 25,000 innocent civilians may actually be trapped at this point in time. So questions and objections have been swirling for a while now, especially given the fact that Washington was never actually invited into the country in the first place. So at this point, all we can do is wait and see what sort of reaction will be coming from the coalition.
Yes, indeed, we shall. Jacqueline Vouga, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.